everyone. I brought 2 glasses so I could kind of clink it all together, but you're all set already, so we don't even need to do that. So welcome to Nk'mip Cellars. My name's Cassandra. I'm the Visitor Experience Manager here, and I'm really excited to welcome you on such a special occasion. First, it's National Indigenous Peoples Day, and we're going to have a really wonderful event. We're going to start by hearing a little bit from Josie Tyabji. She is the General Manager for the Western Estates. But we also have a little bit of talking from Justin Hall, one of our winemakers, and we're also going to have a little bit of food for lunch, of course, this afternoon, which is the theme is the 4 food chiefs, which our wonderful Diao and Lewis here is going to tell us a little bit more about that as well and its significance, and he's joining us from the Desert Cultural Center today. So to get us started, what we wanted to do was have a performance by Diawan with the Okanagan song. And he's going to tell us a little bit about its significance and importance.
So the Okanagan song, it's like our people's anthem. So in the song there are the words Ashli Kuspubi Nyumta, which is we are beautiful, Ashli Kusuka Nakin, which is we are Okanagan, and Ashli Achai Tukula, which is because of our land. And so we sing this song at the beginning of our events and our gatherings to let the land know who we are, to let the animals know who we are, and to let the people know who we are as well. So that,
Josie Tayanchi. I'm the director of our Western Estates here. Yeah, it's a little loud, isn't it? I started back in the wine industry about 34 years ago. I grew up in the Okanagan here, and Nk'mip Vineyards was one of the first vineyards that was established in the South Okanagan in 1968. And the Osoyoos Indian Band, with their ties to the land, really always had a vision of creating their own winery. And so they had this fantastic vineyard in the South Okanagan. And in order to really take their vision to the next level of having a winery, they needed to partner with somebody who could help them sort of learn the business of wine and really take that vineyard and that vision and celebrate it and share their culture and integrate all the things that they knew about the area and the land. And so we formed this partnership between what's now Arterra Wines Canada and the Osoyoos Indian Band, and we built this beautiful Nk'mip Cellars winery. And Nk'mip Cellars winery sits on a resort, which you can see, called Spirit Ridge. And everything that we do across the whole resort is about celebrating the culture and telling the stories and celebrating the language and all of the things that the Osoyoos Indian Band have shared on this land for generations. And so, you know, beautiful song, another representation of some of the things that connect the people to the land and really celebrate all of those things that have come to light. So today's really all about partnerships, marriages, culture, art, land, nature, and Nk'mip, which is the wines that you'll see here, took the knowledge and the learnings that we had over the first 8 years, and when we really perfected all of the things that we were doing together as partners, we decided to select the best lots from both the vineyard and the wineries and celebrate that through a product that we call Nk'mip. And Nk'mip in the Okanagan language translates to marriage. And so it's the marriage of a selection of the best of our lots, and it's all about celebrating that together. Today, and Flicker was our first representation by Linda here, and that was for the Red Meritage that we launched in 2010. I'll introduce Linda in a second. And today, the marriage is represented by the Raven here. And Linda Anderson, Linda is going to come up and speak to you later, is a member of the Osoyoos Indian Band. And Linda's artist really speaks to a lot of the history and the nature and the land, and she represents not only through paintings but through some amazing art that you can see in the store with feathers, and you know, it's unbelievable what Linda can do, and I really hope that you take the time to look at those afterwards. The Knowledge Keeper is about the raven and the mink who came together to bring the sunshine and the daylight to this beautiful area. And if you look out today, they also brought us the sunshine today because originally it was going to rain, so thank you, Raven. And look at what they've done in terms of the desert. That's really another thing that the South Okanagan is well known for, is our desert. And when it comes to making really great Bordeaux style varietal wines, like the Nk'mip Meritage, it's important that we have that intense sunlight, and you don't get any more growing degree days than out here in the desert, and that's represented by the topography that you can see out there. So I just want to bring that back to Linda Anderson and the Knowledge Keeper painting. I'm going to ask Linda to come up here. Just so she can stand by her painting. And she will be speaking to that in a second, right after Justin. So, all right, fantastic.
All right, so I'm Justin Hall. I'm the winemaker for Nk'mip Cellars. I've been here for 15 years, almost, just shy. I guess a little bit about myself quickly, and being, I still call it Aboriginal National Peoples Indigenous Day. Being part of Nk'mip Cellars, they've grown me into who I am. And we're doing an elements dinner tonight, and it's something I'll be touching on a little bit more then, hopefully, is they took me from a young man, kind of lost in life really, most late teenagers, early 20s, you don't really know what you're doing. And starting into Nk'mip Cellars, it took me 4 days to know exactly what I wanted to do. 4 days I signed up at the local college and I was already registered into a winemaking program. So the magic of food and wine is something that's amazing to me. And being Indigenous or Aboriginal, I think coming from the land and making something out of our fruit, especially being so proud of what we've done here in the past, 50 years, since 1968, our people have been doing it. And my family's literally, we were talking about this morning with my grandmother, being raised in bins out in the vineyard while these people worked, right? It's a little different than today's world, mind you. So you're tasting the rosé, which, or you've tasted the rosé you came in. That's from our vineyard in Oliver. A little bit of Pinot Noir there. It's a little bit of a blend of a few other things that we kind of put together, and I'm really happy for this wine. So more importantly is the label release that we're coming on to. I'm really happy to have the new artwork. Fantastic work through Linda, and she's done great things for us in the past. We're really happy to work with her again and have this new release. So as part of my progression, as cellar slave, if you will, into assistant winemaker into last year.
Come on!
Last year, I was promoted to winemaker. So with that promotion, I was given more responsibility. So now I make all of the white wines and do all the judgment. Of course, it's still a team event, if you will. But I'm really happy to have the new release of Linda's new label with my first white Merim that I've got to make. So the wine is a blend, it's a Bordeaux blend, Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon. A little bit of oak in there. We're looking for just a little bit of sophistication in the wine. Very food-friendly wine. We're looking for depth and concentration. It's really meant to be the next level up. So having Merim, which is marriage, and our top tier with fantastic artwork from our people, onto my very first white Merim and my interpretation of it. Every winemaker is a little different, so I hope you like what we have. Now, it just passed VQA last week. We have it available here to taste. This is the newest vintage. Still unlabeled at the moment. We're giving you a feature of what is to come. You're the very first ones to try it, so I'm really excited for you, and I guess some feedback would be good as well. And then we're also going to be tasting the red Merim. It's 2015 vintage. This is probably our most fantastic vintage that we've come out with yet. Every year is a little bit different, so we fit together the features of that year. This vintage Cabernet Sauvignon is a little more dominant, but the Malbec is second, when normally it's sort of Merlot and Cabernet battling. The Malbec was so fantastic in 2015, being such a hot year, it was a bigger feature. So every year it's a little bit of a blend of our own artwork, if you will, featured with Linda's, giving you the very best that we have. You will also be tasting a little bit of Dreamcatcher, which is available with the food, and QQ Pinot Noir, so those come from Oliver as well. Dreamcatcher is an aromatic white blend, and QQ Pinot Noir is Pinot Noir. So I think that's about all. If you have any questions, I'll be around, and Linda with her artwork, she's around. Have a great time. Thank you for coming.
Hi, I'm Linda Anderson. I'm an OC's Indian band member. What can I say? I was born in Oliver and raised in the Okanagan Valley, and I've done artwork my whole life, but didn't seriously start painting until the last about 25 years. I'm not used to speaking. Where I express myself is from here to here with a big paintbrush in my hand. So I just want to say that I'm really honored to have my artwork on the Merim wine, and thank you.
Thank you. All right, and so that brings us very close to the point where we're actually going to get to eat and try some of that wine we've been hearing about. So what's going to happen is we're going to have chef stations at each of these 4 locations, and some of our staff will be there to pour those wines. We've paired them each individually, and each station represents one of the 4 food chiefs. And that's where I'm going to bring Diawan in again to tell us a little bit more about the 4 food chiefs and what they mean. But a little side note, as you're exiting through into the tasting room, you'll notice on the floor there's a beautiful mosaic that we've had since we've entered, and that's been at the center of our tasting room since the beginning. So a really important part of our culture. Go ahead, Diawan. Thank you.
Alright, so I'll tell you guys our 4 food chief story.
I'll let you come a little bit more in the middle there. I'll get out of the way.
There
I'm
we
not
go.
important.
So we also call this the story of how food was given, and this is part of our creation story. Our stories are very long and they transition from one to the next. So in this little short story here, there's Coyote. He was on his travels, and Coyote was given the important job to prepare the land for the new people that the Creator wanted to make. And so when he was on his travels, one day he came across the 4 food chiefs, and they were the Speedlim, which is the bitterroot, and he's the chief of all the plant life that grows below the ground. And there was the Sia, the Saskatoon, he's the chief of all the plant life that grows above the ground. And there's the Nk'mip, the king salmon, he's the chief of all the animals who live in the water. And there's the Nk'mip, the black bear, and he's the chief of all the 4-legged animals who roam the earth. And Coyote came across these 4 food chiefs, and they were all sitting between 2 rivers. And he told them that the Creator had plans to make a new people, and that these 4 food chiefs were tasked with the job to determine how these people were going to provide for themselves, and what they were going to eat, and what they were going to use for their resources. And so these 4 food chiefs sat down and they had a meeting, and they were talking amongst one another, trying to figure out what they were going to do. And they weren't able to think of anything that night, so they went home to sleep on it. And while they were resting, Bear, he had a dream, and in his dream he was told that he was to give his life to provide for these people. And so in the morning when the chiefs met again, he told them, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to lay down my life so these people to be will have my bones for their tools, they'll have my hide for their clothes, their drums, they'll have my meat for their food. And so he laid down and he gave his life. And after he gave his life, the deer, he stood up and he said, since our brother here was the first one to give his life to provide for these new people, they will instead take me for their food. And our people, we don't really hunt bear, we don't really eat bears, we have that respect for him as being our first provider. And after the deer said his words, the other food chiefs, they stood up and they said, we will continue to do the same, we will as well give our lives to provide for these new people to be, so that they will have the resources and the tools that they need in order to survive and provide for themselves. That was how we were given everything we have on the land.
Thank you. And with that, lunch shall be served in just a moment. We talked a lot faster than we expected. So usually Justin goes for a good 10 minutes.
I got more.
I don't know what happened.
Well, one of the things that Justin didn't mention was when he first started as winemaker, he did work as a cellar slave, that is partly true. But then he did leave the community and go internationally and did some training overseas, which I
The
think...
winery's been a huge, and the Osuyas Indian Band, big supporter of me. I spoke about it earlier. Basically taking me and saying, hey, do you want to be in a cellar for the rest of your life? A very great job, nothing wrong with that. Or do you want to become something better? Do you want to achieve more in life? I guess from a young age, I've always known that don't want to be a millionaire, but I want nice things, I guess, as we all do. So they sent me to school, and they basically put it up front and said, here you go, we're going to invest this money and time into you. 15 years of being here, of me giving time, they're putting it back into me. We're sort of a symbiotic relationship that way. Sent me to Australia, paid all in full, go learn how to make wine in a different area. Grow your training and your look out on life, So traveling to Australia, I learned a lot over there and what it's like to work in a very large winery. But you take small things and you bring it back, right? It was great knowledge to work there. You see faster ways and how other people do things, and it's gathering a knowledge base. So one of the best things about being here is, I think, the strength of the Osuyas Indian Band as a community. We're not just a single family or a single person making us strong. We've got Linda, we've got Lindsay, we've got Teresa, myself, Derek in the back playing music, Diawan's here with us. Everybody plays a role in our community. We're not featuring one, it's literally about everybody, and that's why we're so strong, and that's why we're at the forefront of Native people in Canada. Clarence Louis has done amazing things for us. Very strong leader, and he doesn't make it about himself. He makes it literally about every Native band in Canada. He talks about everybody. He doesn't say, "Oh, Suicide Band's the greatest ever." He says, "We are a strong people and we're all great." That's why we're very strong. There, filled it up for you.
There we go. And